South African rap is tedious. Um, Simply because a lot of young rappers feel the need to submit and submerge themselves into this kind of qualitatively safe style of rap. You know, associate yourself with the trap sound, do a little bit of like J. Cole-esque rhymes. And what that leads to is like a kind of a manufactured rap that sounds ready for the climate, but has absolutely no individuated feeling to it. It's got nothing that speaks to the artist, who they are, what their journey is, and essentially what they're trying to say to us. Enter GD Art. I came across this artist in a funny way, through a girl I like. And I heard one song. The song was called Honey. And what I heard there in at that split second was a confluence of optimistic, idealistic realism on the issue that the headspace keeps addressing. What issue is that? The issue of authenticity. The fact that we are Africans interacting with the tapestry of the rest of the global world, influenced by a very Western, Americanized, you know, what have you, culture. And as a result, a lot of our fashion, a lot of our outlook, a lot of our understanding of what pop culture is supposed to be gestured like comes from what we see from America. But when we mimic America without injecting parts of ourselves into the story, we sell ourselves short. And when I got the chance to listen to GD Art's very short, very brief, but very potent EP called Fly, man, I was filled with a real optimism of the future of South African rap. There is a generation of young rappers who believe in the indigenous power. They believe in the fact that their languages hold cadences, styles that Americans could never mimic. And that's our strength. Our strength, okay, our in this instance is the African continent. Because rap music needs a strong decolonial project. We need to understand that black people made rap, but it was black people from the diaspora. It was black people negotiating with their own identities, trying to find themselves back to where we naturally are. We grew up in Africa. We know what a rooted, deep connection with your indigenous clan, tribe, culture, rituals. We know what is that. We know what that is like. We navigate the pathways of modernity and our own ancient customs in a way that is still difficult, but it is there. We have the threads that weave us back to direct ancestors we can speak about. Ngendlela yethu, ngendlela esibonisa ukuthina. So as a result, I think if African rap is really going to be the next wave, like Chuck D claimed it was, then African rappers are going to have to understand the importance of being African. The importance of being African is that we have within us ancient codes that have been passed down that capitalism suppressed in the way of modernity. But now we can use these very same codes to navigate capitalism. And that's the irony. And I think GD Art does that very well. This project doesn't even go beyond 5 tracks, but what it does is that it gives us a glimpse of an artist who is young, vibrant, and very importantly, strengthened by the power of their own culture. And there's something about Venda, people. It has to do with the fact that colonially, if you do your history, where Venda is situated is very difficult to access. So without going into the actual history, Venda people have a kind of interesting interaction with themselves that is not so heavily inundated by Western culture. They've been able to navigate in the modern world while still maintaining the prestige of their own heritage. And that's a whole episode in its own. But the essence of what I'm trying to say is that D Art comes from that womb. He comes from this kind of open place that says who you are is enough. And the rest of the world is going to have to meet that person as they are. Instead of you trying to compromise to adapt to where the world is at. Because you have songs like Time that sit on a more conventional spectrum. It sounds like a trap song, but it is the way that this artist is able to, again, propel themselves into a style that is suave, sleek. I mean, I call it Venda cool because Chivenda as a language is rigidly sharp in its enunciation and is able to smoothen it out with a hip hop influence. And that's the beauty of how this hybrid influence of how we take on other aspects of the world is able to be put together. When you don't forget who you are in the process of everything that you learn from the rest of the world. GD Art is an artist who is discovering that and who is tapping into that. And in his music, albeit the fact that his music does not have like a strong emotional anchor, you don't know who this kid is, where he's from, what his challenges are, but he has the levity and he has the room to play around with ideas. He's young. He's got the space to still discover and improve on the style. And what he chooses to do at this moment is just have fun with it. And the kind of fun he's having with it is this beautiful confluence of international appeal with a kind of real rooted indigenous consciousness. His beats vary. I mean, there's songs here like Arwani. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, as Umkhaza, that kind of tap into the boom bap tradition, but they take and they transcend that into the kind of modern lo-fi rap, dirty edge. As brief as this project is, GD Art is able to give us a bite size of who he is. Creatively, not personally. Creative. And it's beautiful. It's a canvas of modern day flexing, rapper bravado, mixed in the core of Venda confidence. Let's call it that. And as a result, as a South African, listening to this was so refreshing. I mean, my joint is still honey because it's able to take the trap drum pattern, lace it around this kind of easygoing, soulful swag, and still put itself within the context of where the world is right now. And I think that is the advantage of younger artists. The internet age is embedded in their minds and their hearts, and as a result, they feel the impulse of where the world is going more than millennials. But when they understand where history has come from, they're able to do this in a way that is intentional. A lot of rappers are not intentional because they don't know what to really do. They're caught up in the flux and the swag of what the world is, and they haven't really asked themselves the question of how hip hop, rap intersects with their culture. So GD Art does that amazingly. So for me, this project is a clean 7 out of 10. Because again, it lacks the personal edge, but I'm pretty confident that in the development of this artist, there's going to be a lot of unraveling. He's going to give us more of who he actually is. And I hope things like this review open the world to not only him, but artists like him. So shout out to GD Art. The project is entitled Fly, and I love it because it has the sense that he wants to soar the open frontiers of the future. And this sounds like the future. This sounds like the kind of rap music that burgeons to where we could go. So for that, it fills me with a confidence in the fact that maybe SA rap is not going to the shits after all. GDI Flawed, GDI Fly, the project is a short but brief stint in where we are going. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. I love it when artists have the courage to break out of the typical. And that's what this is.